What's going on, everybody, and welcome to episode 107 of SDGC. As always, I'm one of your hosts, John, aka at Mr. Megadov on Twitter, and I am joined by a bunch of people who are probably still muted. You guys are still muted?
We are here.
Always muted.
You are here. Excellent. All right. So the chat is already starting to fill up. Oh, I see Wout is in chat. Wout, hello, my friend.
I see that Saki Bless is in chat.
Saki Bless. What is Saki Bless?
Oh, you know who Saki Bless is?
That's not you, though. Is that...
Maybe driving, but that doesn't mean she can't support us.
So she's literally risking her life.
And other people's lives.
Wow.
Great.
That is... I don't know whether to thank her or yell at her. That's
called loyalty right there.
That's
called
both
being loyal
that's both
to the
irresponsible. That's both being irresponsible and being incredibly loyal to the brand at the same time. So salute. I don't know what to say.
He learned it from me, driving and podcasting.
All right, so we are live. We got a really cool show tonight. We got a lot to talk about. Our old friend Mat Piscatella from the NPD group has joined us, and I want to point out to everybody in chat, Matt literally just flew in. He just got home. He walked in the door. The first thing he did was he contacted me. He said, John, I have a desperate need to be on the podcast. That's really not what happened. I asked him to come on. Matt, dude, it is so good to have you, man. You're a really good friend of ours, and it's just a joy to see your smiling face.
It's awesome to be here again. Hello, everybody.
And
Hey.
We have got some cool stuff to talk about tonight. So we were going to start off with a little Sea of Thieves talk. Because I think all of us have played it at this point, or at least, or maybe almost all of us. But now that Matt is here, we can talk about some NPD stuff and how extremely fucking healthy the industry as a whole is right now, especially Nintendo. So without any further ado, Matt, why don't you go ahead and gently ease us into our NPD discussion? Gently,
right,
please be gentle.
Yeah. The big news is that console hardware is doing particularly well. That's up 55% for the month. It's up 79% for the year. What's happening? What's happening is that PS4 continues to be almost or just as good as it was a year ago, and at the same time, we have a resurgent Xbox One doing much better numbers than it did a year ago, and Nintendo Switch, which is still like basically zero comp because it's the 12th month, so you have like bonus dollars in a sense. So you have all three consoles doing very well, and you have 3DS just kind of still doing its thing. It's a Pokemon box. It's a 2DS box now, but it just keeps on chugging along. You put all that together and it looks really good. And on the software side, Monster Hunter World continues to dazzle. #1 again, second consecutive month,
Jeez,
#1
God.
game of the year. You combine that with Call of Duty World War II showing good legs, and all the other games coming to the platforms, you're talking pretty big up numbers in software for the year too. So I mean, with the exception of interactive gaming toys, everything else looks really, really good right now.
Well, I think
Would
what's...
you say? Oh,
No, Finn, go ahead.
I'm just saying. Would you say Monster Hunter World is a monster title?
Jesus
It's
Christ, you
it's
piece
a
of
real
shit.
beast.
Is it a monster worldwide hit?
It's making an impact on the world.
You are...
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yes, it is a sales beast.
You see, what I've heard is that I'm pretty awesome, and that game came out on my birthday, so it's automatically awesome.
So, Matt, I want to ask you something. So there was a stat about Nintendo that I thought was, or about the Switch specifically, that I thought was really interesting, but I don't understand so I was hoping you could break it down. So the Switch, as I read, is now the fastest selling console over a 12-month period in history, like period. Like that.
Yep.
That includes the PS2, the Wii.
Yep.
And
And the PS4, which is actually right up there with some of the best-selling or fastest-selling consoles ever.
So I guess my question is this, you know, obviously this is NPD, so it's just in the U.S., right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any indication as to how it's performing worldwide, or is that not something you're knowledgeable about?
So Nintendo's announcements about shipments are always worldwide. So you can kind of extrapolate from there, and if you do that, then I mean, give or take, some countries stronger than others, but it seems to be on a global basis just as strong worldwide as it is in the US. I don't know if it's the fastest selling console ever worldwide, but it's doing all right.
What a, I was thinking about this today. What a fucking turnaround from the Wii.
Yeah.
Just like 2 years ago, and people were ringing the death bell for Nintendo, and there was a lot of doubt around the Switch, and
There was a lot of doubt with us.
yeah, there were a lot of raised eyebrows here, but I gotta tell you, like, this has been one of the most 2017, I think across the board was one of the most incredible years for gaming ever. Like when you look at sales, when you look at the sheer volume of good games, when you look at the attach rates for this games. I mean, when Zelda hit, there was there were more copies of Zelda in the wild than there were Nintendo Switches.
There were. Yep.
So do you expect Switch to carry that momentum all the way through 2018, or do we not know enough yet about their launch lineup? Because Smash Brothers is a huge deal.
Yeah, so there's two things to think about, I think, or two things I take away. So GDC, right? The GDC always does a game developer survey going into GDC, and this year, 1 in 3 developers said the Switch was the most interesting device to develop for, and a vast majority said that games on Switch are selling at as good or better rates than anywhere else. So you have incredible developer enthusiasm, and you have a development platform that is really easy for indies to come. So we're going to have this incredible flow of games, which is very different than historical for Nintendo platforms. Now, whether it can maintain momentum is a great question. You do come up against Wii's second holiday over the next few months in terms like looking at comps, first 14 months, for example, versus first 14 months of Wii. So I don't think the pace is going to maintain through the first half of the year. However, in the back half, we get a Smash, maybe we get a Pokemon, and if all that happens, then I think it comes back and reestablishes itself. But a lot of unknowns. It doesn't really matter, though. I mean, I think you can't look at this as anything but a pretty massive success. And even if it doesn't maintain its pace as the fastest selling console ever, who cares? It's making great money, so it's great games to play on the platform. And that flow of product seems like it's going to continue. So, I mean, good news all around for them, even if it doesn't maintain the momentum.
Can you imagine the 1-2 punch of a Smash Brothers in September and like a Pokemon in November? Like that?
Yeah. Like I'm going to all the publishers, right? And I'm sharing forecasts and outlooks. And, I put up my Switch forecasts and the things that could impact it. And I'm like, here's the number I'm guessing. You know what? Plus or minus 2 million, because I don't know. Like, so much could happen. Everyone just kind of laughs because it's true. Like a 1-2 punch of Smash and Pokemon in the same year would break all the benchmarks. It breaks everything, and then it's a question of, well, how high is high? You get more than one Switch per household ownership rates. That breaks all the benchmarks. Yeah, and so then it's just a question of, okay, well, we just kind of have to learn the industry over again because everything's changed on us. And then you throw in Fortnite in the mix and other games like that, and it really has changed.
Oh my God, can you imagine if Fortnite hit the Switch too? Like, holy shit. Like,
I mean, it's gonna.
Oh, I'm sure it will at some point. Apparently it runs like a dream on mobile.
We get Matt on here once a month, and it seems like for the past couple of months, every time he's on, the industry has changed. It was only like one show ago where PUBG was the unstoppable juggernaut, and now Fortnite's like, sup, bro?
So you could say, in a sense, Finn, that SDGC is driving change in the industry, right? Is that what you're suggesting?
I emphatically would state that.
So
if this podcast is the reason why my students...
Before we had our show, Fortnite was not big. You're welcome.
Well, thank you, SDGC, for making my students play Fortnite on their phones in class.
Yeah,
and I can't stop. I can't get them to stop. I can't. Like, if we have an assignment on the tablet, you know what they do? They go on Fortnite and they compare stats. That's all they do.
Well, just embrace.
Talk about something that could change the industry. The revenue that's coming out of the early beta of Fortnite, where it's invite only, it's almost, if I think it might be, at the top of the revenue generating charts, and it's not even in full release yet.
God.
And it kind of works. So a month from now, Fortnite Mobile may have completely broken the industry, if first-person shoot or third-person shooters, whatever, third-person shooters work on a mobile device, like that changes everything again. Like I don't know, man. I'll go sell tuna fish.
How much of it is Tencent's involvement? Because I know they own, what is it, like a 48% stake in Epic Games?
Yeah, probably not much, right? I mean,
yeah, I don't know. Tencent probably owns 20% of each of us. We just don't know it.
Yeah. Let me so Matt, let me ask you this. So the Fortnite player base, numbers wise, is incredible, right? It's unbelievable, and I think it's at this point it's overtaken PUBG by a fairly decent margin. I don't know the exact numbers, but let me ask you this: do you think can Bluehole mount a comeback and kind of bring PUBG back over Fortnite, or do you think it's done? Do you think Fortnite has now permanently supplanted PUBG? Yeah.
I mean, you look at the pop culture references, the thing that is going on with the sports guys and with music stars, and I mean, Fortnite has become a cultural phenomenon. Jeff Gerstmann on the Bombcast this week said he's never seen anything like this in history. This is bigger than Warcraft or Minecraft or anything that's come before in terms of the.
Ooh, that's a heady statement. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Like that lightly. But the way the speed at which Fortnite has taken over the cultural zeitgeist, I don't think that goes away. And it's a classic case of, and I know that PUBG wasn't the first battle royale game. I get it, but it's the first battle royale game that mattered. And it's like when Xerox made the mouse. No one remembers that Xerox made the mouse.
I didn't even know that.
Apple did, right? Everyone thinks Apple did, and it's the same kind of thing here. The second mover kind of perfected the formula. We'll have to see. Now the key question is, right? E3 is going to come up. We're going to have 30 of these damn things on the floor. Are any of them going to be able to compete, or is this another MOBA situation where everyone had a MOBA for a while?
Oh, I think we're going to get a whole lot of this is going to be the League of Legends killer. Or before that, this was going to be our World of Warcraft killer. And
I remember that.
The industry is going to be saturated. At first it was MMOs, then it was MOBAs, now it'll be Battle Royale games.
Well,
I will say one thing.
I'm sure that we will have like 30 different like Battle Royale shooters, and that's when they announced Fortnite for the Switch right now.
Well, hold on. I want to give Zach a chance to answer. I saw him trying to get in there.
No, I just mean that I think the one thing that just building on what Matt was saying is the one thing we definitely know is that Fortnite has killed the possibility of having customers pay up front to play a battle royale game. Free to play is the way to do it. And I actually, until about last week, I was really cold on Fortnite BR, and then I bought their Game Pass, which is like, I feel bad saying this, but until I bought their $10 pass that added like progression systems to the game, I was cold on it. But the way they have monetized that game is smart and addictive. And as somebody who was really dismissive of it, it's been wild to eat crow and also just continue to watch it just totally change everything. This is bigger than Pokemon Go. It's massive.
Actually, I was going to say the last time a game broke into this much pop culture to people that don't play games was Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm seeing now memes being shared by parents on Facebook about Fortnite. I'm seeing my uncle talk about Fortnite because my little cousins are playing it nonstop, and a game has never been touched by this many people since Pokemon Go, and it's not even on the same scale.
Well, so what you're saying is we need to get Drake on the show.
Now, Drake's old news, man. We got to get someone bigger.
Drake's old news.
Drake's old. What are you talking about? He single-handedly propped Ninja up to like 5 million subs. Like,
week. This is the internet age. That's old news, son.
Yeah.
Move forward.
I had shared an article in our SDGC group chat yesterday. It was published by the Bleacher Report, and it was about like Andre Drummond and like Reggie Jackson, the Detroit Pistons, like how they're addicted to Fortnite. And like I think they even talked to like one Los Angeles Lakers player, Josh Hart, and he stated that he literally like carries this Xbox One like for like away games, like in a suitcase with a controller, so he can play it like when he has free time. I mean, like. I mean, it's huge.
So I want to point out that Zach raised a good point. I wanted to address it. Zach was down on Fortnite at the beginning, but you kind of got one over.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
What was it that did it for you? I was just curious.
Okay. For people who don't know, I mean, I'm pretty open about it, but I have 170 hours logged in PUBG. I really like PUBG. I still like PUBG. It's not like for me, it doesn't have to be one or the other. I like both. But what made Fortnite win me over was its progression system. Matches are incredibly short, which is PUBG's downfall. Is if you're doing well, it can be 35-minute matches. I mean, it's got to be the progression system. But also, I mean, it fucking runs on consoles, and that's a huge deal. I mean, PC matters and phones matter, but I've had PUBG on console, and I hate to play it. It runs poorly, even at 30 frames per second. Fortnite at 60 frames per second is incredible. I can't believe it works.
Yeah, and it's free. It's free.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
You've got to wonder if Bluehole is kind of kicking themselves for limiting themselves to or keeping themselves off the PS4 at the very beginning. You know,
didn't Bluehole actually have a deal? Like they were supposed to have a deal with like Epic, like when Fortnite first did the battle royale stuff, like.
That I could not tell you. I'm not aware of that.
I don't think so because I think originally when they announced it, wasn't Bluehole kind of like offhand being like, well, legal action, and it was like that wasn't that the big narrative? Yeah.
They were trying to be like, you can't do that. We've copyrighted Battle Royale or something. And everyone was so dismissive at Fortnite at that moment. They were like, look at these guys trying to cash in on the PUBG crowd.
Well, you know, and I actually want to point out something that Jesse said in chat because I think it bears mentioning. The team allotted by Epic to Fortnite was a skeleton crew at the beginning, and they are now up to 700 people just on Fortnite, which is fucking absolutely insane. It's insane. I've never seen anything like this before. Oh my god, I'm somebody who like PUBG, Fortnite. I'm not a huge battle royale guy, but the way that these games, the way that this genre has kind of taken hold. And penetrated kind of, you know, the cultural zeitgeist in the industry. I've never seen anything like it. And it makes you wonder what other games are going to get battle royale modes, right? Like Red Dead Redemption 2, Destiny 2.
They just announced Dying Light today is getting its own take on it, which is wild.
Yeah, I'm actually really, really, really curious about that because I love Dying Light. Light.
Didn't Epic drop Paragon like because how big Fortnite was getting?
Yep.
Yeah.
I have one more MPD question for Matt before we kind of dive into to some Sea of Thieves talk because we got a lot to unpack with Sea of Thieves. There's a lot there. Matt, so we know ostensibly, supposedly, Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to hit this fall. Just to get your opinion. When you break it down by console, when you're not looking at the sales combined on Xbox One and PS4 for Red Dead Redemption 2, if you're just aligning it by console, what do you think sells more, Smash Brothers or Red Dead Redemption 2?
Okay, so I have a good answer for this because we don't track Nintendo digital data. I don't have I have a decent sense of what they do digitally, but I don't have a great sense of what they do digitally. So I'm going to default to Red Dead because we'll be tracking both physical and digital, and I have an idea that it's going to be a fairly significant number. So
I mean,
I'll go that way and not answer your question.
Honestly, this holiday. I think we can all agree this holiday is going to be wild for sales. Like it's going to be fucking wild.
And the question for me is, and I was up there trying to get some hints from Sony this week when I went and presented up there. What are they going to do? So Sony is in a very strong position. They continue to lead in hardware sales in the year. Their demand is fairly constant. And so my question is, all right, if they want to get aggressive and they want to start doing some more $199 console deals in the holiday period, you have that, and then you have Red Dead, you have Black Ops 4, you have Switch, you have X1X, and maybe they do some discounting around that. Like, man, it could be a real nice holiday period. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be. And then if you throw Pokemon in that mix, holy crap!
I think the industry this has the potential to be the industry's strongest holiday season in a decade.
I could go with that.
yeah, so
Okay. I have one more question for Matt, and it's
Go
something
ahead.
I've always wanted to do with him. I want to see his power of prediction in action. What do you think will be the most talked about game of E3?
The most talked about game of
Well,
E3?
it's got to be Smash Brothers.
No. I just, could it be something we don't even know about? What's going to be that surprise steal the show moment?
Are you trying to get us?
Okay, well, so the steal the show moments are always, they tend to be games that don't sell very well. And so when I see the big reaction at E3, like a couple of years ago, right? Like the E3 of dreams, or whatever people call it.
I love
And
those.
most of the games haven't come out, and the ones that have come out haven't exactly set the sales charts on fire. It'll be a game like that like a group will really latch onto, and then ultimately Red Dead, Call of Duty, and Smash/Pokemon are going to dominate the sales. So I guess I'd say I don't know if I care. To be like have a real dick answer about it. Like, I don't know, man. I've been getting more down and down on E3, and I get that like people dig it and they like it in the hype of all the trailers and all that, but ultimately I can't correlate hype to sales, and hype certainly isn't correlating to quality of game. So I think E3 is a mirage, and I wish it would go away, but I'll never get that.
Well, with Microsoft leaving the main place for their own little stadium and Nintendo doing their own thing, how long until E3 as we know it?
Well, it's on its way to becoming a fan fest,
Yeah.
and it's good because the people that spent all that money last year to go as fans got screwed. It wasn't a very good experience.
Yeah.
I know everyone's really focusing on the fan experience now, and I think that's the right way to go. Gamescom is a much better example of how to do that kind of show in 2018 than the traditional E3 has been, and I hope we keep moving that direction. Because ultimately the fans are the ones that pay all the salaries, and media just doesn't need 3 days in a room anymore. Like, there's other ways that news about games is getting out.
Hey Matt, I have not a question, but I have a comment. How excited are you for MLB The Show 18 tomorrow?
Hold on, that was a question.
That was a question. You're right. That was.
Dude, I'm so pumped. So that's tomorrow. Then OOTP 19 just hit today. So Out of the Park Baseball, which is the best
baseball
sim
season starts
game in
next
the world.
week.
Yeah. OOTP 19. That is the best simulation video game in the world. It does very well, but it shamefully doesn't do more. It is a spreadsheet simulator, but I don't care. It's a fantastic game. Everyone should check out OOTP. And then, of course, MLB The Show, which I hope my hands cramp and I can't feel my fingers by Saturday afternoon.
I'm gonna be living that Nino Kuni 2 life tomorrow, boy. That's all I gotta tell you.
It's so good.
But okay, I want to go ahead and move on to Matt. Thank you so much for the MPD breakdown, man. That's always fucking awesome. I want to go ahead and move on to our Sea of Thieves discussion because there's a lot to unpack here. This is I think just gauged on reactions both from fans and the press. That this is one of the most divisive titles in recent memory.
No Man's Sea.
Yeah,
No Man's Sea. I saw that. I saw people calling it that. I don't think I hesitate to make that comparison for reasons that I'll get into later. But so first of all, I want to get an idea of who else. I know I've played it. Zach has played it. Jay has played it. Finn, have you played Sea of Thieves yet?
Single player, not multiplayer with you guys.
Okay,
my views are skewed at the moment.
Brandon, you have not played Sea of Thieves, right?
No, I have no interest in it whatsoever.
Okay. And Matt, I'm assuming that you have not played Sea of Thieves either.
I haven't been by my console in a week and a half.
Okay, yeah, you've been gone. So okay. So Sea of Thieves. Why don't we have Jay and Zach explain the game real quick? Zach, we'll start with you. Just kind of give everybody a rundown on what Sea of Thieves is.
Yeah, sure. So Sea of Thieves is a best with a 4-person crew game about discovery and kind of open world adventure with your buds. Probably the most attractive feature is its online setting where you can run into other people and it's not always forced in combat. Sometimes you can make friends. you can loot them, you can help them look for treasure. But No Man's Sky comparisons are a little bit pejorative, I think.
I would agree. I would agree with that.
But I mean, it is a really fun multiplayer game and a little bit of a dry, a little bit mundane single player game. But yeah, open world kind of adventure, pirate sim light, I guess.
That's a good way of I would. Jay, you played it for the first time last night. You and I played together. And
Yes.
And then I'll get into my experience playing with Zach and Maddie and Gabe here in a second. But you played it for the first time last night.
Well, actually, I played it on launch day.
Oh, you did? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I want to talk about this because I feel like this is a very important part of Sea of Thieves. So I started Sea of Thieves, and you can't even create your own character. You have presets, and like for a game like this, for like a social game, I feel like you should be able to create your own character, so you have like a connection for your character.
But I mean, you don't ever really see your character though.
But like other people do, like it's like Zach mentioned this last night. Like it sucks because like these characters are like 80% perfect, but like 20% terrible. Like you never get that 1% like this is my character kind of feeling.
That's an interesting way to put it.
But so I woke up on the island and I had no idea what the hell I was supposed to do.
That's a big problem. Yep.
Like I was talking to people and I'm like, okay, and then like I honestly didn't know what to do. Like I was just roaming around this island for like 20 minutes. So I messaged Zach in our group chat and I'm like, dude, like what am I supposed to do? And he had to like explain it to me like in paragraph.
I saw that. Yeah. So like right off the bat, I'll tell people if you have not played Sea of Thieves, Brandon and Matt and everybody in the audience who has not played it, there is no tutorial. You are dumped on the island and you are thrown to the wolves. And it's just play.
You know, I mean, I kind of like that actually. And I mean, in a social game, I think it is cool that like you have to get like sort of like an MMO. You have to get your bearing by talking to other people and like asking questions about like how does this game work.
No. I mean, I get that it's a discovery game. I get that, but like when you start a new character in World of Warcraft, you have your tutorial quest, and you start right in front of those NPCs.
I mean, like old MMOs. I mean, older MMOs than even WoW and stuff like that.
And No Man's Sky,
like 90s games that force you to figure everything out on your own at the beginning.
In No Man's Sky, you literally like there's a tutorial like that teaches you like how to craft materials and like how to do all this like. The problem in Sea of Thieves too is like there's not really an interface, so like you really don't know where you're supposed to like go.
Well, I mean, so from the reviews, it makes it seem like there's not a lot to do in the game. So figuring out what to do is something to do, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, content is pretty darn light right now.
Yeah,
there are three. I'm gonna just keep it brief for people who haven't been following. There are currently 3 factions in the game: gold hoarders, the merchants, and then these kind of skull voodoo merchant people who basically send you. They're kind of like horde quest people.
It's the Order of Souls, right? That's what they call it, right? The Order of Souls quests.
The Order of Souls. Thank you. Yeah. That's a lot better than my description. So the Order of Souls sends you to do horde-like missions. Then the gold hoarders want to go dig up treasures using a map, and then the merchants want you to go find pigs, snakes, or chickens in crates, and you have to bring them back. I mean, it's 100%. It is all fetch quests. I think that the merchant one is the weakest. We have to catch animals, but like digging for treasure with friends is pretty fun. But 100% what you're saying, like so much of this game depends on your friend's willingness to tutorialize the game for you. Since launch, I have walked people on this podcast, friends of this podcast, through the basic core mechanics because Rare does none of it. When you boot up the game, I think they tell you how to eat a banana from the radial menu.
Yeah.
But like things like finding a voyage and then proposing that voyage on your ship not explained.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about that. Like I picked up quests and I was like, what am I supposed to
And the
do?
issue is the issue is after I say this, I'll hop into something positive because there are positive things about the game.
Yeah, there is.
But the issue with without any tutorialization of the game is that I mean, this is a realistic game. You have to find your location on a map. You've got to get your compass. You've got to find your bearings. You've got to adjust your sails when you're sailing. I mean, this is complicated stuff. It's not like It's not like you hop in Black Flag, like the sailing in Assassin's Creed Black Flag. You hop in your ship and you turn left and right. I mean, that's how you steered your ship. In this, you have got to watch the wind. You have got to have your sails at a certain angle. You've got to raise anchor. You've got to lower anchor. I mean, it's complicated, and Rare does not tell you how to do any of it starting off. You have to figure this out all on your own, or you've got to Google it, or you've got to ask a friend. Now it sounds like we're really down on the game. There are issues with the game, but I do want to point out the positive aspects of it real quick. I picked up an Xbox One S on Tuesday. Yay! I finally got one, and it was bundled with Sea of Thieves, and so I booted it up, and immediately, so I did not have the issues that a lot of people have playing the game single player and jumping into that world and getting your feet wet with no help. Like I had Zach to help me out, and Gabe was there, and Maddie was there, so they were showing me the ropes. And I got to tell you, if you're playing this game with 4 friends and you're just dicking around or doing stuff, it can be a lot of fun.
It can be.
We were laughing. I mean, we were laughing our asses off. We got into a fight with another group of players on their pirate ship. We sank their ship. We chased them across the island. We took their treasure. And then we got drunk at the pub or at the bar, and I vomited into a bucket and I threw it on Zach. I mean, like it was great. We were having a great time. We were laughing. And I got to tell you, this game has the best looking water I have ever seen in any game ever. And when you're rolling into a storm, Jay and I were playing last night. And of course, we had we had 2 teams going. We had 6 people in chat, which was ridiculous. But Jay and I were sailing through this storm, and the waves were just throwing our boat, our little sloop, all over the place. And
yeah, I thought our ship was about to flip over, because literally our ship was just straight up in the air at some points. The storm was
pretty cool.
I mean, Jay. I mean, I think we can both admit it was pretty amazing. It
was I had never been that scared of falling off my ship before.
Yeah, I was, and then I fell off the ship. I fell off the ship, Jay.
Then he fell off the ship. We were right at the island.
I fell off the ship, and I'm yelling at Jay, "Wait, come back!" And Jay's laughing his ass off, tried to drop anchor, turn around to get me. And that was great, right? That was great. But then we got to the island, and we had to get chickens, and it went it was awful. It was
we ran
awful.
around for 20 minutes looking for chickens.
Looking for fucking chickens, and we find a chicken, and it's the wrong. And I said, "Jay, is this a red speckled hen?" And he says, "No, it's a golden hen." And I just threw the fucking crate down, and I was like, "Fuck it, I don't want to do this anymore."
I think I went to my ship and canceled all those quests. I'm like, this is not worth it.
That fetch quest we did to catch chickens, Matt, I'm telling you, Jay and we had this chicken coop, and I was running around and I'm a pirate, right? I'm a pirate. I'm running around an island with a chicken coop, trying to catch 1 white feathered hen and 1 red speckled hen. And
it sounds stupid.
It was awful. It was terrible. It was one of the worst side quests I've ever done. And so it is so there's a huge disparity between the moment to moment gameplay with your friends when you're out of the ocean and you're sailing and you're looking for treasure and you're fighting off other players is great.
Yeah.
It's great. But when you look at the connective tissue that ties everything together, a lot of elements of the game just fall flat. And I mentioned this before we went live. I got this game basically free. It was part of a bundle, right? Mm-hmm. Had I paid $60 for this, I would have been very upset.
Yeah. Similar. Yeah. I mean, and that's so much of it. And I have a hard time saying this because it's not a fair way to think about it. I probably am the biggest fan of Sea of Thieves that I know.
Oh, you most definitely are. I'll say something bad in the group chat. You're like, wow.
Wait. Well, in the defense of Rare, I'm a pretty big fan of the game. I would not tell anybody to spend $60 on it. Game Pass with $10 a month.
Yep.
It should have been it should have been a $30 game at launch. I'm sorry.
Maybe. Maybe probably. But I think that this is why it's such a compelling first installment for Game Pass is that I am optimistic about this game. I'm hoping Microsoft and Rare have enough foresight to have enough content coming to make the game interesting. But I'm very happy that if this game doesn't evolve in the next 2 or 3 months, that I didn't put $60 into it. I put 20 or 30 it also got State of Decay 2 when that rolls into Game Pass.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
You know, like another issue I have is that, and this is not an issue for everybody, right? Like, and I think so. I want to address Brandon had mentioned earlier, No Man's Sea, which I thought was I heard that earlier today, and I thought that was hilarious. But I think there's a difference between the way Rare marketed this game and the way Hello Games marketed No Man's Sky. Because I mean, you know,
Sea of Thieves is exactly what they said it was.
It's exactly what Rare said it was, and I feel like Sean Murray at Hello Games. I think he's a good guy. I'd have no problems with Hello Games, but I think they sold us a bill of goods on No Man's Sky. It was not at launch anyway. It was.
I mean, you're not going to be seeing Crowcat videos about like Sea of Thieves being a big scam or anything.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that some people went into Sea of Thieves thinking it was going to be something that Rare never really said it was. Having
Destiny on water.
Yeah, exactly. Now, having said that, I want to make it clear for everybody who's not played the game that every bit of progression of the game is cosmetic. Period. There are no stats.
which is a bummer.
That and that kind of deflated me a little bit.
It's a bummer.
How would you, again, as the official SDGC of Thieves defender?
Yes.
How would you? The game is built around accessibility and anti-griefing measures, which is kind of ironic given the pirate theme. But how would you handle things like let's say I have played 50 hours and I've upgraded my ship and I've doubled the guns and also my cannonballs do more damage. How do you combat that against players who are new? And
that's a real problem.
The way this game's matchmaking. What's that?
No, I was just gonna say, and that's a real issue, right? Like that's how do you work around?
Yeah.
That, you know?
I mean, you could have like different zones, like in the actual map. Like, you know, when you first start off the game, like you start off like in one zone, and then like you progress, like you level up, and like the enemies have different levels. I don't know.
Possibly, but then like you hamper the discovery aspect of it. I don't think any of what you're suggesting is a bad idea. I do understand the criticism behind cosmetic only things. It just feels like Rare had a really inclusive environment that was hampered by its setting to this point where like there's just a lot of irony and confusion around. Like I was watching Waypoint, which is like Vice's gaming network for those who don't know, and they were playing and they stole someone's ship, and the people who owned the ship can vote to scuttle the ship, which sinks it by itself as an anti-griefing method. But that also is like antithetical to what it means to be a pirate.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we'll just sink the ship.
Just like reading a Reddit comment that said people are using the scuttle option to grief people. Because it's
the only way you could do that is
island and or outpost, and so if you're chasing someone as they're trying to land, you can scuttle and appear right in front of them.
So
yeah, I haven't thought of that. Maybe
here's something that I played a little bit of the single player, and Finn, I want you to jump in after I mention this because you've played some single player as well. But I wanted to see what the single player experience was like, so I jumped in. I got my sloop. And this is an issue that I didn't have playing multiplayer with the rest of the SDGC guys because I wasn't really thinking about it because it didn't matter. But Zach mentioned a sense of discovery, right? I don't really find that in the single player because on these islands, like I was hoping maybe to find some secrets, some hidden stuff, maybe a bit of lore, some chickens, but. Every one of these islands is like there's some skeletons, and those are the only enemies of the game are skeletons. Skeletons. That's it.
Well,
I didn't find anything. There was nothing to really discover. Like I went to this island. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll find something exotic. Maybe I'll find, but it's snakes, it's skeletons and it's pigs and chickens, and that's really it.
And that's the problem No Man's Sky had. Like you could go to all these different planets, but it's the same thing on every planet. It's like the same resources.
But at least the planets on No Man's Sky were visually distinct.
And absolutely.
And in this, it's islands that look incredibly similar. And I had a hard time getting over that. I was like, well, man, like this is.
I would argue against that, but.
Argue. That's the whole point. Like,
so there are some interesting things. Like, the difference with No Man's Sky and this is right is one is handcrafted and one is procedurally generated.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And like, look, like there are a ton of criticisms. Like, what the hell? there's a lot of interesting things going on at Sea of Thieves. I don't know how it took 3 years to make it. I really like it. I don't know how it took 3 years to make it.
Yeah, that's yeah.
But I will argue that the islands are pretty diverse. There's obviously size differences. There's actually some are rock based with very little sand, which impacts some of your treasure finding on some of those levels. Other ones deal with different elevation and caves. There's a lot of paintings and kind of ancient society type of hints that they kind of leave around, which hints at underlying lore. Like they have some for the Kraken, but they also have some for other sea monsters that aren't in the game yet, which makes me optimistic for the future of it. Another thing that I don't think you and I have played, John, because I haven't carried anybody through it yet, is there are pirate forts where they introduce you to different forms of skeletons. One of which,
that's cool.
yeah, and like one of the things that I learned is there's this type of ghostly skeleton where the only way to do damage to them is if one player holds a light up to them to reveal like kind of a body form, and then like so there becomes like this camaraderie and fighting.
Okay, so there's actually different battle mechanics.
Yeah, there
so
are
that's
different
interesting.
ones. Yeah, and so, but again, like so much of this game depends on your willingness to not bounce off of it in the first, 3 hours. When you're like, I fought this same skeleton that lets me hit him for 3 hours.
Well, and and with that, I want to pass it to Finn because Finn has played some single player as well, and you were not incredibly impressed, Finn. I want you to give your thoughts on that.
Well, that's why I am reticent to give my true impressions until I've experienced it the way it's intended with everybody, with a group of friends. Because jumping in solo during the betas and whatnot, I was just over. Like I keep seeing people go, "This is such a chill game. I love just like sailing and relaxing, and it's a chill game." And to me, that's just it's like the phrase "one man's trash is another man's treasure." One man's chill game is another man's put me to sleep.
Yeah.
Playing alone was aggressively boring.
Yeah.
And it. Without having anything really to do outside of fetch quests and build up rep with for no end goal other than to get a new costume or something. And I think that's it's not any it's less a knock against Sea of Thieves and more a knock against the genre of like emergent storytelling gameplay games versus a structured story game. And I'm definitely a fan on one end of the spectrum rather than the other. But right now, if you asked me if I was happy I got it free with my console versus paying $60, I would say if I had paid $60, I would have been horribly disappointed. But again, tonight I'm going to play with you guys and experience it with friends for the first time, and I am quite willing to eat crow on this because no one wants a game to be bad.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
You're a terrible person.
I mean, I found the game to be incredibly boring when I played it by myself, and then last night I played it with John in one game, and John kept on throwing buckets of water in our ship, wondering why our ship was sinking. And then I was playing with Zach and JT and Kyle Foley, and I tried my hardest like make it through like this rock hole like in the middle of the ocean, and I didn't sink our ship. And it's just, I think it's just like dumb little experiences like that really aren't like a part of the game. It's just more like, oh, there's this thing here, let's go try it out. Like I think that's the magic of the game.
Yeah, very spontaneous.
Yeah, but like you have to do it with friends. Like if you do it by yourself, you're like, oh hey, let's go try that. But there's like no one there to witness it. Like there's no point.
And I want somebody else to address it because I've talked too much about Sea of Thieves, but I have seen people say things like, well, anything is fun when you're talking with your friends. And I think that sets a really negative tone and attitude about what Sea of Thieves is accomplishing. But does somebody else want to talk about that, whether you agree with that sentiment?
No, I mean, I think the way that phrase is phrased is done in a negative light, because Sea of Thieves isn't just the concept of if you play with it's only fun because you play with friends. It's more of a game that's designed around playing with friends. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
sure.
I would agree.
It's an experience, and it's not like Rare has been very upfront that this is not a game tailored to a single player experience. So I can't really fault them for the fact that me playing it solo hasn't been incredibly engaging, because it was never their intent.
Well, I mean, right from the get-go, when you fire the game up, the game practically screams at you like, "Hey, let's party you up with with another crew, and let's go. Like, choose your ship, and let's get a crew going." I want to address one question that a few people actually have had in chat, and then I want to move on to our next topic about the gameplay loop. in Sea of Thieves, because I think that's key, and I wanted to actually throw it to Jay to talk a little bit about what you think about that moment to moment gameplay.
The moment to moment gameplay. As I've said before, like I guess like the actual like voyages and like leveling up your factions isn't like what sold me, just because I still don't get the systems, which really sucks. That like, you know, I still don't understand, and you know, like, because they don't explain it to you at all. Like, we tried doing the chicken quest last night and it went terribly.
It was a disaster. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I mean, this is literally like the game where like you get together. It kind of reminds me of playing like Skate online back on the 360, just trying to do like a kind of like a free ride thing, not like a competition, and like you find like a line, or even playing like Tony Hawk, and you're like, hey, let's try this line, and you guys keep on trying this line until you get like the best line, but it's not really like a competition or anything like that. It's just more of like the experience.
Well,
of, like, being there.
like I spent a lot of time in those Tony Hawk games just like finding gaps.
Yeah, like
just skating around without trying to do the objectives.
Yeah, and that's what Sea of Thieves kind of remind me of last night when we were playing. It was just us like goofing around.
Yeah,
and find things to do on our own.
So that takes really good level design, and those
yeah. I mean, like as I said before, like I found that rock structure thing last night, and you know, like I was trying my hardest to like make it through there. I mean, it's not showing the map. I mean, we just found it on the way to something else, and you know, like, and I was because we had found the storm, so we went towards the storm and then found the rock. And it's just like, oh, let's go through this rock, and then like it was fun. I don't know, like it's not what we were supposed to do, but it was fun.
But that's the whole point. That's the whole point, and that's something I really want to speak on. Is that, you know, I think it was both Julian and Mitty mentioned the gameplay loop. The gameplay loop, as the game dictates it to you, is, in my opinion, just bleh. Like it's fetch quests. It's all fetch quests. Like go do this, bring it back. Go do this, bring it back. The real moment-to-moment gameplay in this game is with a group of 4 friends dicking around in the high seas, and you need everybody to effectively sail that galleon. So when we were playing 4-player on Tuesday night, this is where the game really shone. This was the moment where everything came together. Is when Zach was driving, but because the top sail's in the way, he can't really see where he's going. So it's up to me up in the crow's nest to tell him which way to go. Okay, go. All right, we need to go southeast. No. Cut it hard west. You've got Maddie and Gabe running back and forth, working the sails, turning them left, turning them right, raising them, lowering them. And in order to really sail that ship, you need to work. You actually need to work as a crew, not just a group of friends, but a crew of sailors taking this ship across the water. And that right there, like moments like that are really. That is the true gameplay loop of
100%.
Of Sea of Thieves right there. Like, and it sounds like we're all, except for Zach, it sounds like we're all negative on it. It's not a bad game. It's not a bad game. It's just it is a good game that needs more content. It needs more content. Finn, go ahead. Finn is frozen. Like, you guys see that?
Oh, can I say one negative thing again? Like, this is my last negative.
I'm just loving this image of Finn. He looks so angry. He looks like he's about ready to hit somebody. Look at him.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he does look like he's doing that salt meme. Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah. Anyway, please.
Okay, the last negative thing I will say about Sea of Thieves is that the intro plays every single time.
Press B. It's just press B.
But it shouldn't. You shouldn't have to watch it it shouldn't like automatically like start up again. Like when you boot up the game, like after the first time you've played the game, it should just take you to like the character menu of like where do you want to go.
Yeah, that's small stuff to me. I mean, like so much of this, and it's my last piece I have for Sea of Thieves, is that what I'm loving about it so far, and I could be bored on my mind of this game by September. By June, I could be bored of this game.
Yeah.
But what I love so far is that in 5 years, when somebody says, "Yo, do you guys remember that rare Sea of Thieves games?" Like, I will not think of moments alone, or digging up treasure, quest. or I won't think of the chickens. I won't think of digging up treasure. I will think of the moments where we're trying to dodge rocks, or where John throws up in a bucket and then tries to throw the vomit on me as my character staggers around. Or one of these really magical moments, and I can't believe we haven't talked about it yet, is each character has a musical instrument, and if you all start playing, or if one person starts playing, other people will join in and kind of accompany that. And there's like this really magical camaraderie around it that's just...
Oh, and as a nice touch, Zach, as a nice touch, if you're drunk and you play your instrument, you will play it drunkenly. Like it sounds like shit. Like it's amazing.
There are so many like magical, really sweet handmade mechanics in it.
Look,
now Finn is
Finn's
just
back.
Finn from now on.
So So
my internet died. I'm on my
phone. Oh no, don't worry. I screen capped it, and I expect that to be your new Twitter profile picture.
Yeah.
Hold on. One last thing to say.
Well, hold on. I want to throw it to Matt real quick because we're getting long in the tooth with the Sea of Thieves talk, and I want to move on to God of War. Matt, so what do you think this does sales wise? Like what do you think? Not just sales wise, but like from a player engagement standpoint.
Yeah, I mean that's the question, right? A lot of people have been talking about Game Pass and whether or not it's going to help or hurt games that are part of the program. Generally, I'm looking at this like a game that goes on deep discount sale from time to time. Everyone says, oh, everyone's going to buy it now and no one's going to buy it at full price later. But what we always see is that when this happens, the game goes off sale, and then all of a sudden your baseline sales rate at full price actually goes up because players are in the game and they're telling their friends or they're playing with their friends to get them in there. So I think that Game Pass as a whole allows Sea of Thieves to have a much bigger addressable market. So the potential sales, I think, are much better even with a subscription than they would be otherwise. However, the reviews have been difficult,
tepid, yeah.
Yeah, the feedback, just like you guys were talking about, that feedback seems pretty consistent out there. So ultimately, a game always sinks or swims on how good it is. So it has the opportunity to do really well. Whether it will or not, I think has nothing to do with Game Pass or the business behind it, like the mechanics of the business, and everything to do with this are people having fun in the game.
And this is one of those games that will absolutely live or die based on the support that Rare gives it. And it needs more. I'm sorry, but it needs more than fetch quests.
Yeah, this feels like the beta was just like rushed for like an actual release. Like I hate to say that, but
I think the biggest criticism you could leave against the game is exactly what Finn said, or exactly what Zach said, is that what were you guys doing for all those years? Because
what you have too, though, is you have precedent now. Games like Rainbow Six Siege that came out and were kind of rough at launch. And didn't
that's true.
There's plenty of opportunity for them to right the ship.
Ha ha! Woo!
Yeah. Thanks.
Ahoy!
Oh my God! Did Finn
who
freeze
knows,
again?
Or even like Fortnite, right? Like Fortnite didn't exactly set the world on fire at first. So I mean, you never know.
Yeah. I just want to point out.
Yeah. It took Fortnite took about 3 months.
It did, yeah, before it really caught on.
Well, that was what I was going to talk about. Is just we're all caught up on how the game is right now. We're forgetting this is a definitive games as a service model. And when have you ever been able to accurately predict how a games as a service game ends up even just 3 months down the line, let alone 1 year,
or even years down the line? I mean,
it's too premature to declare Sea of Thieves a failure or a success.
Well, I mean, look at what Ubisoft has done for The Division. I mean, talk about bringing something back from the dead. But I think we've tapped out on the Sea of Thieves talk. I want to move on to our last topic, which is God of War, which hits in just a few weeks, less than a month now. Zach's like, all right, I'm done. Fuck the God of War talk. But he's like, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. And he didn't even hear me say any of that. But Finn, where'd you go? Where's your camera?
So God of War is a 2008 game that involves a god of war and his kid.
So for anybody who's been living under who's been living under a rock, you've got the 3 God of War games, and you've got 4 technically with God of War Ascension.
This one is Dad of War.
Dad of War, and once again Kratos is the main character. But I'll tell you what, the gameplay previews that have hit over the past week have been nothing short of talk about a sea change for this franchise. The combat has been completely overhauled. The game world, the camera. Kratos himself as a character has been completely overhauled. The setting of the game itself has been completely overhauled. And I wanted to see, and I want to start off with Matt. I wanted to see what everybody thinks about the changes being brought to this game, and what our hopes are now that we've seen large vertical slices of gameplay and story. So Matt, we'll start with you, man. What are your impressions?
So obviously I'm going to have a slightly different take, and I'll let you guys talk about the gameplay stuff. So what's interesting about this game is that it is a single-player game with a very much a single-player story focus, but very different than like an Horizon Zero Dawn that had the open world element to it, as far as I know. So I'm interested to see how it does. I think month one's going to be really good, but how are the legs going to go in a world that seems to have turned its back on single-player games for the most part? I mean, it looks great. I like the old man grunting angle because I relate in many ways to being an old man and grunting.
I don't.
You know, getting up off the floor, I'm just like, I'm opening a crate. So I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to it. Like I'll play it the minute it comes out.
I am a huge fan of the first three God of Wars. I was not really a big fan of Ascension, but God of War, and of course the PSP offshoots, Chains of Olympus and
yeah, the Ready at Dawn ones.
Yeah, those were really good. Those were Ghost of Sparta and Chains of Olympus. Those were really good. But like I was wondering how I would kind of acclimate myself to the changes being brought to the series, because when the game was revealed at E3, I really enjoyed the changes to Kratos' character. I was like, okay, well, this is a character who just used to yell at the screen, and now he is being given depth. He's being given nuance. He is trying to control his anger and change himself and raise his son to be better than he was. But I was iffy on the gameplay, but the combat with the Leviathan axe and the shield and the over-the-shoulder gameplay looks fucking awesome. When you think about all the combat possibilities that you can, I like there was one gameplay video where the guy, he threw the axe, he ran up, he started beating up a few Draugrs with his fists, and then he called the axe back by hitting triangle, and when the axe flew back to him, it tore through one of the enemies and killed it, and then the axe returns to his hand. So when you call that axe back, and if you're calling it back through an enemy, it will cause damage to them, which is just and then he jumped, and when it tore its way through an enemy, he jumped in midair, caught it, and immediately did like a ground pound ice attack with the axe, and I was just blown away. I was like, oh my god, this looks so fucking good. But what interests me most is the relationship, as a father myself, is the relationship between Kratos and Atreus, who is his son. And by the way, I want to point out, I called Atreus as being Thor. Like, I thought they were going to say, okay, this is Thor. His son's, and he's going to end up becoming Odin. But I was wrong. So his son is Atreus, and he is with you the entire game. The Atreus is there for the entire game. He's a gameplay mechanic. If you hit square, he'll attack an enemy that you direct him to. And I wanted to see, we'll throw it to, I don't know, Brandon. We'll throw it to Brandon.
This is gonna be like a 15-hour escort mission.
So I want to see.
I'm being sarcastic. Escort missions aren't inherently awful. I mean, Resident Evil 4 is one of my favorite games ever made.
So apparently Atreus can't die. You.
Oh, okay. He's an Ellie. He's an Ellie.
So like let me walk that back. He could die in the sense that like he'll fall down and you need to go like get him up, but his character cannot actually die. But you can't. He can't die. Like, if he dies, do you get a game over? And no,
or he just can't die.
No, he just can't die. Right? Like okay. it'll be like go over and mash. It's one of those things where like
it's a Gears of War down but not out.
Yeah, it's a down but not out. Okay,
exactly. Yeah. You got to go pick him up and mash the X button, or do whatever you're gonna do, and Atreus gets up.
Fair enough.
But the only thing I'm iffy about is that Atreus is there for the entire game. He's there for the entire game, and one of the things I noticed in some of the gameplay videos is that he's like, nice shot, or like, what do I do? What do you want me to do? Great hit, well done,
this
good
is
job.
Xenoblade Chronicles 2 all over again.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as bad, but I'm not sure that I want 15 hours of, what do we do now? Great hit, nice shot, great hit, nice shot. And
I can't read this too well. Can you read it for me?
And I figure it's probably, the game is gold now, so they're not gonna. That's not something that's going to change, but I am a little, and I wanted to see if you guys share the same concern, and anybody can jump in on this one, about the fact that I don't know how I feel about Atreus being there for the whole game.
Okay, well, first off, I think the kid's annoying.
Okay, that's fair.
Like all the gameplay I've watched, I think the kid is annoying. I get like the relationship they're trying to create, like they're trying to make Kratos have with his son, but like it's just, I don't know, it just seems kind of like unnecessary.
Do you mean I'm sorry? Do you mean narratively you find him annoying or unnecessary, or do you mean mechanically? Like
Mechanically, I do.
Okay, mechanically. Okay.
Mechanically, I do. Like, I don't know. It's just like, I guess I've never played a God of War. Like, I never, when the first God of War came out, like, I was overly religious.
Oh, that game was so mind blowing for 2005.
Yeah. Like I was so scared to play it because I thought I would go to hell.
Which game was this? I missed that.
The original God of War.
Okay,
yeah,
right,
the
right.
original
Okay.
God of War. So like, I've never played God of War.
Oh,
I wasn't really too like excited for this one, but I watched the gameplay that came out this week. I watched a Tim Rogers video on it, and it got me kind of excited. It like gameplay wise, it kind of reminds me of like the original Devil May Cry like series when it went into DMC by Ninja Theory. Like, I don't know, just like it seems a little more streamlined, but like at the same time,
we're so impressed. Like, because so the first God of War came out before Shadow of the Colossus. So like the scale of the boss fights that you're seeing in God of War, like that Hydra battle.
I'd never seen anything like the Hydra, Brandon.
I had also never seen anything like that in a video game at the time. Like actual jaw-dropping moment.
That was well, and something else that I think we need to mention about this new God of War is that there is like legitimately there is tiered gear, like that you can use with stats, with numbers attached to them. So there are RPG elements in this now as well. I was watching a gameplay video where you can equip chest plates and shoulder plates and leg guards that actually change Kratos' look. And some of these are and these appear to be colored, like, you know, uncommon and rare and epic and stuff like that. And you know, I'm fine with that. I feel like in some games this is kind of overdone a little bit. Like everything needs to be tiered with a color. But
I feel like one thing that we should bring up is that the new God of War is a one-shot game, so like there won't be like any like transitions from like cutscenes and whatnot. Like it's like all in game.
Yeah.
Well, and
I have a feeling they're gonna pull it off much better than Kojima did with the MGS5.
I mean, most likely. I just think it's a cool mechanic, to be honest.
Like, well,
it is cool.
You know, Jesse.
They do it well.
Jesse
do it well.
Jesse in chat mentioned something that I also think is worth mentioning. He said he is super intrigued to play a game in which the protagonist is dealing with anger issues. And as I don't know about this, but I think that is actually a gameplay mechanic, because in one of the videos, Kratos is getting mad at Atreus for something, and there is like a little icon in the top right of the screen with fire that is like rising as Kratos is getting angry, and then he calms himself down and it starts lowering. So how cool would that be if controlling your anger is actually worked into the gameplay itself? Like that brings into it a whole new kind of level of almost generalized anxiety kind of stuff that is, for me, obviously really, really intriguing.
It is for me too. Honestly, like you guys remember me hearing me bitch about God of War for like years on this podcast and on, you know, forums and shit and on Twitter before this game got announced.
Yep.
And this game is exactly what I was asking for. I was like, I'm just not used to you know, actually getting what I ask for out of the video game industry. So to you know, for years, basically since God of War 3 came out, so for the last 8 years, I've been complaining that God of War needs to go in a new direction, and if they were to make another sequel, it needs to be either a completely new character or a new look at Kratos. And holy shit, that's what we're getting.
Are you gonna dust off your PlayStation 4 for this?
I am.
Oh, I know he is.
That is surprising, actually.
It is a little dusty. I haven't used it in about 4 months.
I haven't seen you online in a long time. But then again, I use my Switch far more than I use my PS4 these days. Yeah, you know, I've got the special edition pre-ordered, so I've got the Kratos statue come in, and so I'm really excited about that. I wanted to throw it to Finn real quick, because Finn, you haven't really gotten a chance to cut on God of War yet. So I am unfamiliar with your history with the series, Finn.
Well, my history of the series will be I love it, and I've played all of them. PSP games, the original trilogy. I even suffered through Ascension.
Yeah.
What was Ascension like? Just not that good.
It just wasn't
Ascension
great.
it came out at the same time, and I always make this comparison. Remember when Gears of War Judgment came out, and you were like, "Why is this a game?"
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's God of War Ascension. It was a game that was just made.
And they came out right at the same time too.
Yeah, they came out at the same time, and they were both games that were just kind of shoehorned in to have a new entry in the franchise.
Absolutely, yeah. At the very end of the generation,
nothing for to move it forward. And it was
Wow, God of War Ascension came out 2 months after Metal Gear Rising did.
Yeah, I mean, God of War Ascension was basically, hey, we need to get a God of War game out. So
Okay.
let's just get Ascension out.
Oh, wait, there's online in it too?
Yeah, it was completely unnecessary and rote, and it was dumb. So I want to ask Finn this, and then after Finn answers, I will open it up to the group. The main crux behind, and I'd like Matt to cut in on this too, because Matt hasn't had much of a chance to speak on God of War. The main crux of the entire series is killing gods. That's the whole deal, right? In God of War, the first God of War, you were killing gods. In God of War 2, you were killing gods. And in God of War 3, guess what? You were killing gods. The Norse pantheon is rich. You've got characters like Heimdall and Odin and Loki and Hela and Surtur and all Fenrir and Bor and all kinds of Uller and all kinds of Norse deities. So do you guys think that this will follow the same the same god killing trope as the first three games? Because I gotta be honest, I didn't get that sense at all from everything we've seen so far.
Well, that's one thing I was gonna point out is just the fact that if you do encounter gods, Sony and Santa Monica have been incredibly tight-lipped about it. We have not seen a single Norse god game at all. And that makes me so happy because all we've seen is that one area with the same little enemies and stuff. And so this game could go in wild directions and we would have no idea because they have kept it all so compartmentalized into this one vertical slice of gameplay. I think you will kill gods. I think it will be more in self-defense this time rather than you actively seeking out
to protect your son.
Wow. Yeah. So I think maybe the story. So maybe your son is the target now, and the gods are after him. Maybe he's going to trigger Ragnarok. Who knows? We don't know, and that's what makes it fun.
Well, and that's so that is one of the things, again, like Finn mentioned, has been super interesting to me is that this is God of War, and we have not seen hide nor hair of any of the Norse gods at all. And they've already said, and we know that we're going to stay here because I don't know if you guys saw or not, but Sony Santa Monica said, hey, the next God of War game is going to remain in the Norse. Focused on the Norse pantheon. Matt
has to leave.
Yeah, Matt's got to run. Matt, you got to run?
Yeah, I got a jet. My dog is stoked that I'm home.
Oh no, dude, go.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
For coming on, it's always a pleasure. Saki texted me to say hi to you specifically.
Have fun playing baseball this weekend.
Enjoy.
You hear the dog? She's going nuts. All right, see you guys later.
Do your thing.
Peace, man.
But so yeah, we have not seen any of the Norse gods at all, but we have seen creatures from Norse mythology. We've seen the Midgardsormr. We have seen we've seen dragons. We've seen what I think are Jotuns. Those big guys with the tree, with the huge tree trunks they're carrying. I'm assuming those are Jotuns. We've seen Draugr, and they're actually named in the game Draugr. So those are basically Nordic zombies. But no Thor, no Loki, and I tend to agree with Finn. I think that is refreshing, and even though I initially thought that Atreus was going to be Thor, like he had red hair, he was shooting lightning arrows. I was like, okay, this is clearly Thor, and he's going to be the son of Kratos, who might become Odin. But that is not the case, and I'm actually glad they didn't go that route. And I agree with Finn. I think if you're killing any gods in this game, it's not going to be Kratos hunting them. It's going to be him protecting his son, because they play up the fact, and in one of the trailers he says we are above mortals, we are above men. So they are playing up the fact that Kratos and his son are both deities. They are gods themselves. I think it is the breath. I agree with Brandon. I think it is the breath of fresh air that this series needed. And I think this is a really good release.
Yeah, it's not like I've been alone on that opinion for the last 8 years. Actually, I've been in very good company with people that are sick of God of War sequels. So yeah, everybody has been
saying that God of War needs a refresher. One thing I did notice though is that they didn't bring back T.C. Carson to voice Kratos.
It's a different era. I don't.
So yeah,
I think that's fine. Yeah,
I think it's fine. It's pretty much a different time period that they're playing around with. So
Yeah, okay, cool. I was gonna ask about that. I thought maybe
It's not as bad as replacing David Hayter with Kiefer Sutherland.
Oh, that was so bad.
Yeah.
That was like, I understand why they did it, but at the same time, I don't agree with it. Yeah, that was rough. But yeah, Zach, are you gonna pick up God of War?
I am. Yeah, so I do not have a long history with the series. I played a little bit of 1 and a little bit of 3. I'll be picking this up. I like Rise Son of Rome a lot more than some other people do. I like a lot of games.
Yeah, Rise is actually really fun.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But so the thing is, like, the combat here looks more visceral, more engaging.
Yeah.
But I am kind of wondering if this will be Rise, if this will be Shadow of War, if this will be Batman Arkham, like how the gameplay combat flow works. I think we've seen a little bit, like you mentioned, John, some RPG mechanics that will maybe change up the way people play. I'm hoping that I don't get sick of the gameplay, because that's what made me bounce off 3. The other thing that I think is kind of some bullshit, and I could be mistaken on this, but I swear the last thing I saw was that the GameStop pre-order made it so you got XP faster, which I don't
That
love.
sucks if that's true. I hate shit like that.
Yeah, I don't like that. I mean, it reminds me of, this is a big tangent. It reminds me of when the Metro series did their, like, this is the way the developers want you to play the mode, but you have to pre-order to get it. And, like,
yeah,
I hate when that type of thing happens.
I'm
like, make the XP rate fair for everybody. But whatever. I'm really optimistic for it. I don't have huge expectations. I still don't like the Mad Dad aesthetic, but I'm definitely going to pick it up the day it launches.
What are you talking about? Kratos is hot in this one. Like, he has the beard and everything.
Love that dad bod.
Yeah, love that dad bod. This game should be called Daddy of War.
Hold on. He doesn't have a dad bod. A dad bod is when you're
does.
like massive. A dad bod is when you're overweight.
Yeah.
He is taking back the dad bod.
No,
Okay?
no.
He does not have. Look, he does not have dad bod. He has daddy bod.
Daddy bod. Yeah, he's got daddy bod. Dad bod.
That's a completely different thing.
Yeah,
this
dad
is like
bod.
Kratos in his 40s, and like he's like, man, he's like, I really need to get back into shape. I need to show my
He
son
buys a Nordic
I can be a
track.
true dad.
Yeah.
So like they go on the venture together, and like he's trying to get back into shape. He's not doing this for the sake of his son. He's just trying to get back into shape.
Yeah, like there's a difference between daddy bod and dad bod. Like, look at that. I got daddy bod. Okay,
Yeah.
Look at that. That's daddy bod right there. Okay, like that's not. This isn't dad bod. All right, this is daddy bod.
This is where we're at now.
Look at that shit. Look at that shit. You know how much effort went into that? Look at that. But
So besides Zach and John, who else is picking this up at launch?
oh, dude.
I'm in hell.
No, you're not. You're in heaven.
April
You're in
is
heaven.
going
It's
to be Yakuza and God of War month.
Yeah, yeah, like Yakuza comes out so close to God of War. I'm just waiting for God of War to be like $30. Like, I'm sorry.
It's it's a lot easier to hold off on PlayStation and Xbox games.
Yeah,
But
like
you can never say that about a Nintendo game. You can never
yeah,
be like,
because
I'm gonna wait till Splatoon 2 is $20 because it's never gonna.
that'll happen like when Switch 2 comes out. They even call it
not even then. Nope. There are still Wii games that sell used for $54.99.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but,
that has nothing to do with it.
but I mean, like I've never played God of War. This one seems fun. Like I don't know, just the combat reminds me a lot. The combat reminds me a lot of Ninja Theory's DMC, which I really love. Which I know is a opinion.
Well,
but,
you know what else reminds me of Ninja Theory's Hellblade.
I see. I didn't play Hellblade, so.
Oh, you're missing out. Hellblade has got.
It's coming to Xbox soon, Jay.
Oh,
okay,
I'll so
play
amazing,
it then.
so amazing, Zach. If you haven't played Hellblade, Zach,
I've played it.
Okay.
I like it.
Oh, such a good fucking game.
Yeah, but
all right. Well, I think we should probably go ahead and wrap it up there. We had some.
Do we have any announcements to make?
So if I wasn't, I hate to sound like I'm shilling myself, but if anybody hasn't read my article on Polygon, I recommend you go read it. It's about how video games do not make you a better marksman, and I'm sure Brandon, as a fellow Marine, would agree with that. Yeah, I'm published on Polygon now, and I'm actually working on my second article for them as we speak, about how games quite literally saved my life.
PAX is 2 weeks away now,
PAX,
right?
So we should talk about. So we should mention that PAX is 2 weeks away. Half of us will be there, and hopefully we will have some people at E3 and PAX West as well. yeah, there are big things in show for this podcast's future. I can't really talk about them here online, but things are cooking, things are happening, and you can probably expect to see more articles from more people on this podcast, which is pretty awesome.
I know John says we're not supposed to talk about some of this stuff, but I can break an exclusive info right now, is that we will be live streaming the cuddles that John and I have while sharing a bed.
Actually, I'm sharing a bed with a Wout. Sorry,
man, who's in charge of the camera work here?
I was gonna
be in Los Angeles.
Is there gonna be a sub-only cam?
Going to be open for everybody.
We are also going to have a crossover live podcast with between SDGC and Continue podcast. So that'll be good. I don't know whose hotel room it's going to happen in. But and I can also probably, it's probably okay to say that, but for my Dark Souls panel on Thursday, Marty Sleva, who's the executive editor at IGN, will be on that panel with me as well.
Cool.
So that's pretty cool.
Also, guys, I do have another announcement.
Ooh.
I told John that I was going to mail him some tacos from Los Angeles. So anyone at PAX, I will mail you tacos. Not Taco Bell, actual tacos.
If you do that, I want to see you actually do it. I don't believe you.
Okay.
But
what kind of packaging do you use?
I'll figure it out. I'll probably just
right.
The same packaging Blue Apron uses.
Oh, I guess.
Ooh, you're right.
I just want to point out that Dio in chat says the podcast should change its name to Super Daddy Podcast.
Ooh,
yes.
I like talking.
Yeah, I like it.
This is like the third week in a row, like we've talked about dad bod.
I like it, and
really?
the logo.
It's just John's self-indulgence.
You guys know what the logo. You guys know what the logo for Super Daddy Podcast is, right?
Is it just you?
It's that right there. There's your logo, boys.
I know that we've talked about it for so long now because I think I bring it up every single time.
There's your logo. Just a focus. Just a focus on that right there. If you notice the gap between the bicep and the tricep,
guys, it's not always poetry, but we talk about games sometimes.
All right,
and we talk about dad bod. So
we'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and wrap it up here. This has been.
We'll wrap it up on dad bods.
Nice. This has been episode 107 of the Super Daddy Podcast. As always.
Chrono Cross is better than Chrono Trigger. God damn it!
It's not always poetry.
You're triggering me right now. I want a good opinion, please.
Okay, god damn it! I'm trying to end it. It's not always poetry.
Final Fantasy VI is number 40 something.
And we don't always agree, but we always keep it real. Good night.
It's 40.